Morning.
Morning, sir. How you doing?
Okay, how are you?
Fine. Question. Do you know any good things about like if you're shipping small products?
Um, I haven't really looked into it myself, but I know that there's one called Pirate Ship that I've heard people talk about as being good. Um, and then another one is, let's see, what's it called? Pirate Ship. It's called a Ship Bob, SHIPBOB. Those are two that I've heard people say are, like cheaper than even just going to the post office yourself kind of thing.
Okay.
So, and there are probably others in that category. I'd ask the class, put it on Facebook there and ask people what they do.
Okay.
I think it really varies based on where they're physically located and the nature of their product. I know a lot of the people who sell meat, grass-fed beef and all that kind of stuff. A lot of them are in really remote areas, not really close to, FedEx or whatever, and they struggle more so than people who live, in kind of a more urban area. So I would ask the class and see who's doing what. I know that recently Ruth Taylor from her jam company, she was using regional USPS. So, and don't ask me the details. It's on the Facebook page.
Okay.
But she, whatever she was doing with the post office was discontinued kind of unexpectedly by the post office. So she had to scramble to find an alternative. So there was a bunch of, people saying, hey, you should do this or that. So that's one place to look. Or even reach out to her,
Okay.
Aunt Ruth Jans or Mrs. Ruth Jans, I guess it's called.
I remember Miss Ruth.
Yeah, I think a lot of her shipping was, within North Carolina, I think, and I think her stuff is also pretty heavy with the glass and the fruit in the glass jar.
Okay.
So I think she has, again, it's another example, a kind of a specialized case that might be different than yours, for example. So that's all I got.
Okay. Well, that's a good start for me. Now, I have
Yeah.
energy gummies and sexual enhancement gummies. And with Valentine's Day coming up, I'm trying to find a good way of shipping that will I can make profit and not kill myself because I know people are going to in the beginning buy small quantities.
Yeah. Well, have you shipped anything at all? Have you tried the post office? Is that not viable?
Yes, it is. But I'm just trying to figure out like I guess I might be trying to micromanage numbers. So I'm trying to figure out how much it would weigh for if someone wanted two gummies or if someone wanted five gummies or if someone wanted, because like a jar looks like, see if I can show you. A jar looks like uh
Hey,
Hello.
yeah,
Hey.
well, that's
let me. Okay, now I see you.
yeah,
Your
so
background is block. I can't see
yeah,
it. It
yeah, I
disappeared.
had a so the
There we
jar
go.
is about that big.
Okay.
So and inside we have these individual pack things. So we have the small ones so that people
Right.
can buy them instead of buying the whole jar. They can buy like one or two. So I'm just trying to figure out someone wanting like six instead of me paying a flat rate because then it's going to be a lot of extra room. You
Right.
know, maybe doing like small envelopes and I'm just trying to figure it all out. That's it.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. Hey, everybody. Another.
Hey, I'm sorry to chime in, but Big, are you talking about packaging or what are you talking about?
Shipping. How much shipping? Tamara, you look all comfy. You got a blanket around you? Lisa? Good
Me, a
morning.
blanket?
No, Samara looks like she has a blanket on.
Oh,
All right. Well, welcome, everybody. Hope everyone had a nice weekend. And here in Eastern North Carolina, it's kind of a rainy day, and I would say it's supposed to be close to 60 today, I think. Hopefully your weather wherever you are is not too bad.
I'm in
So,
Eastern North Carolina in Sneedsbury.
okay.
Where are you?
I'm in Pink Hill, which
Oh,
is near
okay.
Kinston.
Yeah, it's not too far from me.
Yeah. So today we're going to go through some more on category design, a little more applied stuff on it. I want to let's see if I can do this. So one of the things we talk about in category design is this idea of creating a new category or a category just for what it is that you're doing. And it sounds like that's really difficult, and it may be, depending on your product or service, but it is doable. And today we're gonna learn a little bit more about how to do that, how to position your product using category design to make it kind of stand out and to not necessarily be a competitor with others, but really they're all going to compete with you. We saw the example last week of the Chrysler minivan creating a whole new category, and even though it's been 40 years, they're still number one in that category. This is interesting. I do have, if I can find it, I'm waiting for something to upload. But I have an example of somebody who, a food product that created a whole new category just in the last couple of years. It hadn't been very long, and they've done pretty well with it. So let me just see. It's only a couple minutes long. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see here. It's probably going to tell me that it's processing or something to that effect. Let's see. Yeah, it's not going to it's not going to let me. Okay. So forget that for now. At the end, we'll take a look at it. So here we go with category design and how to design. Okay, there we go. All right. How to design a category and how to apply that to your business. We're going to start off with this one.
Welcome to Techstars, and today we're going to talk about category design.
When you think about category, it's not just about the message. It's actually about what you do. It's the strategy of your company.
You're a small or young, scrappy company. You don't have billions from your IPO. How can you have an effective strike?
Great question. You name an industry that sounds difficult and established, it doesn't matter. There's new spaces and new opportunities in every single industry that's out there.
If you don't set yourself aside as different, you're just another player in the market, and that's what category design is all about.
Think different. Find what's missing.
Hey everybody, I'm Mike Damphouse, partner at Category Design Advisors. Today we're going to talk about category design best practices for those of you that want to roll your own project. We obviously do it for a living, but a lot of companies can't afford to pay us what we'd like to command. So we're going to show you how to do it, and hopefully you can work with your team and create your own category. So before we start, how many people in this room walked in here today thinking category design is about messaging and positioning? Pretty common. Category design is not marketing. But category design, it's not positioning and branding. In fact, if I'm talking to a company, especially if the CMO calls me first, and they start talking about messaging and branding and positioning, I basically say, give the book to your CEO and we'll talk in 2 weeks. Category design is a company strategy, and CEOs see that. And if you remember, marketing is traditional, compete with your competition, say why you're better. Our software is this much faster than your software. Category design is about marketing the problem. You market the problem, then you worry about the solution and communicate that. And if you don't set yourself aside as different, you're just another player in the market. And that's what category design is all about. You're creating a new place in people's minds to put you, and a new way for them to realize they have a problem that maybe they didn't know they had. It's company strategy. Kevin went over this in the overview presentation, but essentially most companies focus on product design and company design. Adding category design to this actually treats all the other aspects of running your company in a way that you focus on category. Every decision you make, whether it's a marketing decision or an engineering decision, even a hiring decision, category is going to give you a different way to position your decision making in a company and running a company. It's making decisions. When we talk to potential clients, it's funny, they look at the contract and they say, oh, what are you going to deliver to us? And it's like, oh, well, we're going to deliver a category name. We're going to deliver a point of view. We're going to deliver a category thesis. We're going to deliver a lightning strike plan. And the biggest deliverable is going to be helping you make decisions. And they always think that's ethereal. They're like, you're going to help us make decisions? But every project we've done, and yesterday was a great example, company just acquired another company. First time the executive team was in a room together, the whole day was nothing but making decisions. And those decisions are going to lead you to creating the best category you can create. So where do we start? Two people in a basement come up with an idea, write a little demo code, go to AWS and create a prototype, and then they say, what are we going to do? What's our mission in life? Start with, this is in the book, start with Dave's 3 questions. This is Dave Peterson, one of the other co-authors of Play Bigger. And Dave's 3 questions are pretty straightforward. Essentially, the first one is, what problem do you solve? Second, if you solve that problem, what is the category? And third, if you build a category, how big is it? So let's look at it. First thing you want to do is focus on the problem. A lot of people focus on the solution, but what you want to do is focus on the problem and think to yourself, is this a market insight, a technology insight? Uber was a market insight. We are sick of riding in dirty, stinky cabs. They don't come by when I need them. How nice would it be if I clicked on my phone and actually got a car to show up for me? Technology insight, VMware. We have all this computing power sitting in our IT centers, What if we could harness that and create multiple virtual machines? Technology insight. And then lastly, what's the emotional aha? What will your customers understand and be felt like they're getting punched in the gut, that they have a problem they need to solve? And if you think that way, you're going to end up being able to focus on the solution in such a way that you're going to develop the products differently, you're going to communicate to the market differently, because people understand their problems. If you're having to educate them on your solution, they're not listening. Here's a great example. Bill Gates. In the late 90s, and I remember when it came out because I wanted one, they announced the tablet. And all the tablet was a notebook computer that you flipped down and you had a flat screen and you could touch it. And the way he communicated this to the market was, you can walk around with this and you can do things on it with your finger. Then you had Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, when he announced the iPad, he essentially said, look, we all have computers, we all have cell phones. There's something in the middle. And that new category is the iPad, is the way he introduced it. It's on YouTube, you can watch it. But what's interesting is the iPad is still a flat computer that you manipulate with your finger. But it was focused on consuming media, reading, watching videos, just quickly while you're sitting in your living room, picking it up, looking at the news, or look at your calendar for tomorrow. And it took off like wildfire. He focused on the problem. You have a clunky computer and you have a little phone. What if I give you something a little bit more comfortable to work with? Still just a tablet. Bill Gates missed it. Second of Dave's question, what is the category? So a category is a container where people store the problem and solution that you've mapped out for them. And those cognitive biases actually cause the category to be ingrained in their thinking, and therefore they're more inclined to buy your products. The category name is not that important to the whole process of cognitive biases, believe it or not. Category name should be utilitarian. People should be able to use it. If you create a category called Intelligent Security IT Specialty Platforms, who the hell's ever going to say that? And if they acronymize it, you're never going to know what it means, right? Whatever that was, ITMSBC, whatever. So basically, think of the category name as your best attempt to label your category. It should be good and concise, but it's not going to end your project if you're trying to create your own category. Here's a perfect example of something simple and obvious. Noise cancellation headsets. It says exactly what it does. Everyone knows what a headset is. It cancels out the noise. And if I said to you, what brand of noise cancellation headsets do you buy? Most people in the room are going to say Bose. And that's because they established the category. Don't lose sleep over developing a category name. We just did a project. It went 3 months. We like to come up with a name kind of in the middle of the process. We didn't come up with a name until the day of the lightning strike planning. It was just getting in the way. And if it gets in the way, it'll prevent you from thinking through all the issues that take you to the category point of view, which we're going to talk about. It's just a name. Here's a tip. This is something we do in projects once in a while. If you're stuck on a category name, or your co-founders and executive team are sitting in a room and everyone's debating what makes sense, hand out yellow stickies to everybody and say, put down 5 words that you think are, should influence a category name. Have them do it. Everyone writes them down. I say, okay, now rank them from 5 to 1. So everybody ranks them. They choose the word they thought of first. It always puts a 5 in. Then take those words, build a spreadsheet, And if a word is ranked as a 5, put that word in 5 times. If it's ranked as a 2, put it in twice. And then do that for all the yellow stickies and keep building this spreadsheet, and then copy it into a word cloud generator. And then you look at it and you can visually get some creative ideas on what words might make sense. You know, here, connected is important, intelligence important. What's interesting is the word that the client was focusing on was advertising. And this exercise caused them to throw it out the window. Trademark. Everybody wants to protect everything they do. IP lawyers live in big houses and have big boats. Category design, you don't protect it. It's a gift to the world. You want your competitors to use your category. If people don't think of the category as just a prolific common thing, then it'll be yours and you'll be the only one that has it. And sure, Google will put you at the top every time, but your competitors and the analysts and Gartner, they'll never create a magic quadrant titled my category name if it's trademarked. So come up with something general and think about your competitors. What category should we create that's going to be different? You're going to be able to educate the market, and you'll eventually, because of the way category design works, you'll become the leader. But if you protect it so much that nobody else wants to touch it, then you're going to fail. You'll fall on your face. Now, if you have a lawyer or if you have technology that is very protectable, it's IP, you're just, whoops, falling on your face when you tell your lawyer, we don't want to trademark this or register it. There's a process called provisional trademarking. So this is the out. If you got an investor that demands you to do this, file a provisional trademark application, then just put it in the drawer. And in 3 years, when your competitor goes to try to register it, you can pull it out and it's yours.
Hey, I'm sorry. Are you able to?
How big
put
is your
that
market?
last part
So in the book, there's a concept called your suit size. You know, you wear your suit today, your software does something for advertising, and it does it for consumer marketing. But what if your application someday could also do it for business-to-business marketing, B2B? That's the suit size. You put the suit on today that fits, but what if you made it a little bigger and grew into it? That's what the concept of suit size is all about. So don't restrict your vision. If your universe is this big, but it could be that big, create a bigger category. A $0 billion market, VCs love that. A $0 billion market means nobody else has figured this out yet. That's the kind of market you want to go after. So you've come up with a category. What do we do next? You want to mobilize your whole company, your ecosystem if you have partners, and you want to go out and do what we call a lightning strike. And some people misunderstand how the book conveys lightning strikes because they talk about really elegant, marketing campaigns, big events. Lightning strike can be simple. It can be 5 very significant people that you want to get in a room together, and you tell them about your story, your point of view, and you drop a press release on PR Newswire. You bought dinner and you spent $700, right? You can go the other way around and you can hijack a show. You can get the biggest booth advertising Wall Street Journal. You'll spend $500,000. You can get just as effective because if you do that show and you end up with 5 clients, you could have had a really nice dinner and ended up with the same 5 clients. But a lightning strike is the concept of setting the category agenda and starting the conversation. Get people to use your taxonomy and your language. Get them to tell your story. And once you do that, the word of mouth is going to grow. Lightning strike and mobilization is setting a flag on the hill. It gives everybody in your company a destination, a goal, something to march to. It's a process of changing the way people think. When you think, the example we used earlier, if you're thinking advertising and you need to be thinking something different, what is that different? Think about what that different might be. So here's some examples. If you want to change your audience, your employees, get them to change from their old way of thinking to a new way of thinking. So you might look at something. Can we increase revenue? Can we be more relevant? But the key is to shift people away from their existing thought process. If they keep thinking, and I'll go back to the VMware example, if they keep thinking, oh, I'll just buy another computer, I'll put it in my IT center, get them to think, no, I have idle computing power, I'm going to do a virtual machine. So you get people to shift. We call them in the book Frodos, from to, and get that shift happening with everything you communicate.
Okay. So I wanted to give an example, assuming I can figure out how to do this, of a company that actually kind of went through this process in a way that I think you all can relate to. At least I hope so. Let's see if I can get this to play. Okay, it looks like it will play. So this is a company that is about, I think they're 2 or 3 years old. They're from Rapid City, South Dakota, which I would argue is pretty rural necessarily compared to, I guess, where we live. And this is a young couple that decided to go into the peanut butter business. And I just want to, this is a short interview with one of the founders, the wife. But there's some really interesting things that they have done, whether it was natural or they, just took some kind of class like this. But I think you'll find it interesting. And I'm going to stop at a couple of places and point out some of the things that are going on here. Let's try this. Okay, there we go. So this is a company, they're called Nerdy Nuts, NERDYNUTS.
You really remind us of the Ben and Jerry's of peanut butter, and that has always stuck with us. Before COVID, we have launched a presidential peanut butter line that we did a huge PR push on, and we were picked up by Fox National News. And, in 48 hours, we generated roughly 25,000 in sales. And so that was like our first.
Okay, so their very first thing that they did, or one of the very first things they did, is they did a PR effort to align their product with what was in the news at the time, which was the people who were running for president of the United States. So you could argue that is piggybacking on what a lot of media is focused on. So I'm going to go through what they did, but I think connecting to something at a larger scale, something that's happening in the economy or happening in the news, is one way to grow your company and get a lot of attention.
First kind of taste of viralness. The presidential line was successful because it allowed us to realize what our customers wanted. They didn't want the basic peanut butters anymore. They wanted something with a little bit more pizzazz to it. It also allowed us to get our practices down better, the way we make the peanut butter, the way we process the peanut butter. Last year that I introduced the cookie line, and I was like, I'm going to add a little bit of something funky into these peanut butters. And that really did stem from the presidential line, because we created those flavors based on favorite foods that candidates had. And so I just took it one step further and created the circus cookie peanut butter, the chocolate cookies and cream peanut butter, and the monster cookie. And it had added sprinkles and cookie chunks and M&Ms and brownies and marshmallow fluff and all of that kind of stuff to our peanut butters. It really elevated where people originally saw peanut butter as, and has put us in a completely new category that peanut butter hasn't even touched.
So she just said that the actions they took put them in a category that the peanut butter people hadn't even touched. So this is an example of creating a new category and becoming the dominant player in this category. I will point out one thing. I did go to my local Food Lion just to see what was on the shelf, and there was 0 products in this category. These guys were not there, and they don't do grocery stores, I don't believe. But there was not, of all the peanut butter that was on the shelf, and there was a lot, there was nothing like this. There was no, kind of quasi dessert peanut butter, I guess.
I did what any millennial did, I feel like, during COVID, and I downloaded TikTok. And I just found a couple influencers that I was passionate about and I just thought were funny. Like, they had really nothing to do, I guess, with peanut butter necessarily, but just sparked joy in my life. And I reached out to them and I just asked them, hey, can I send you my peanut butter? And all 3 of them got my peanut butter. They posted on it. And that's really where Nerdy Nuts went from like crazy to absolutely insane, viral. Yeah, we were on Fox National News, but TikTok obliterated those sales, like completely.
Just to make a point about this, all she did was send samples to a couple of people that she followed on TikTok. There's no contracts, there's no sophisticated, analysis of who should be the influencer. In fact, she says in here, the people that she reached out to, she just happened to like their TikToks. They had nothing whatsoever to do with peanut butter. So, if you wonder, how do you do influencer marketing? This is a really great example. You basically, find some people that you like and, contact them on the platform and say, hey, will you consider, promoting my product here, and I'll send you a sample. And these 2 particular ones that they happen to pick, one of them is a woman who is the wife of a military member. I actually think she lives in North Carolina. I'm not 100% sure of that. But what she does is she does all kinds of like cooking type videos on TikTok where she shows you how to make a meal for your family, when your husband is deployed and you're all by yourself and you got to do all this stuff. So that particular woman has got, I think, 1 million followers on TikTok. So she sent the peanut butter to her, and the woman promoted it on her TikTok and talked about how great it was, etc. So that's a pretty straightforward type of thing.
Hammered them. We actually have 2 kitchens now because we've gotten so big. Rapid City.
One other point about this company, they do it all by hand. They don't have a big fancy manufacturing operation. They have I think actually most of the people who work for them are their family and friends. If I believe that may no longer be true, but at one time it was. So they are literally making this stuff by hand in a kitchen. That just cracks me up. And when you hear the numbers that they're doing, which I'll share in a minute, you just won't believe it.
Primarily focuses on our harder indulgence flavors, things that take.
I just want to point out something. If you look over her shoulder and you see on the shelf, you'll see that looks like boxes of cereal, for example. You can see them. They have a number of flavors where they put cereal in the peanut butter, like Fruity Pebbles and Fruit Loops and all that kind of stuff. They're just going to the store and buying the cereal and pouring it by hand into their peanut butter. and they've got some you can't see it real well, but they got some Hershey's chocolate up there. They got some Oreo cookies. They just go to the store and buy it, and then they put it in the product. To me, it's amazing.
Much more intricate processes, chopping up things by hand, layering things into the product so that it will give you like a more visual appearance versus, you know, your basic spreads. People always ask us, like, do you compete with peanut butter companies? Like, do you compete with Jif and Skippy and Justin's and, you know, Wild Friends and Nuts and More and all of these other brands? And it's like, you know, kind of, but not really, because our indulgence lines and like even some of our more peanut butter treats, like those really compete more with your ice creams like Ben and Jerry's, you know.
So just to give you, again, a little bit more perspective, 3 companies dominate 70% of the peanut butter market in the United States. Jif, Skippy, and Peter Pan. Okay, they have a giant share. There's 127 other companies that sell peanut butter. When they did the analysis, they found that all of the companies said the same thing. They concentrated on, they were healthy, they were pure peanuts, they were keto friendly, whatever. That was all of them, all 100 plus had basically the exact same message. So they decided that their message would be have fun, you know, make it different, make it more of an occasion type of celebration versus a commodity jar of peanut butter that literally everyone else is selling.
You know, so we always say that we want you to Nerdy Nuts, Netflix, and chill. And that's really where we're competing in our market.
So anyway, I wanted you all to get a sense of that. I think it's pretty amazing. And just to give you an idea, their sales are now in the range of $500,000 a month, $500,000 a month. Okay. So pretty crazy from my perspective. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with the brand or you tried it. I just ordered some, but here's another amazing thing that they do. They close their website all week. They don't make any sales. They open it up at 7:00 on Sunday nights for what they call product drops. And thousands of people wait for that to come online because they do different products every week that they feature. But they actually were so overwhelmed with orders that they decided to close their website for most of the week because they literally just could not deal with the volume. And keep in mind, these people are in Rapid City, South Dakota, working out of, I think they were in a shared kitchen with other companies. I think they now might be in their own kitchen. But the other thing that they just recently did, which to me is just crazy, but they opened up a retail store in Rapid City, South Dakota. And it basically looks like a frozen yogurt shop. They have, it's do your own Nerdy Nuts. So they provide the different peanut butter bases. They've got a white chocolate and different bases with peanut butter. And then they have all these additional things, and people come in and they make their own jar of Nerdy Nuts. And I think there was 4,000 people in the line the day they opened. This is in Rapid City, South Dakota, folks, which is a population of about 70,000. So just to kind of point that out. So anyway, that I wanted you guys to see this craziness and get some insights into category. What category can you create that sets you apart from everyone else, and promote that and let people know. In the slide earlier, the speaker talked about move them from the problem they think they have to a new problem that they have, and the new problem is solved by your product in the category that you're in. So with that, I open it up to any questions or thoughts that anybody has about this stuff. So anybody?
Hey, Dennis, it's Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey, that was really interesting story, especially like being in CPG and grocery. I'm super interested. I'll definitely dig into that company, and it's interesting they're building without retail partnerships. I think you said 500,000 a month just on their website.
Yeah.
Which to me is like so curious. Number one, because I've been looking at my own e-commerce behavior as a shopper, and I almost never buy directly from a brand online. Like if I buy online, it's probably on Amazon. As much as I love to support like small local businesses, it's just my habit. I've just been like studying my own habits and my family. But I guess my point, and then the other thing that's so curious to me is I'm in the better for you grocery space. And so like super clean label, organic, like the consumers that I talk to in stores seem to be terrified of sugar, gluten, like all these things. And so for a company that I haven't looked at their nutritional panel, it just looks like that's not really an issue.
No,
Like
it's not.
fat, sugar, gluten, whatever. And
Right.
it's some kind of indulgence, which is a space I'm not as familiar in. But my point is like, I've been trying to open my eyes up to the fact that as the founder of Cirillo, which is a very clean label beverage brand, in order to become a crossover brand, which is my goal, I have to have a better understanding of the quote unquote like average consumer. And I think sometimes, or the mainstream consumer, like 90% of the country that, you know, shops at stores, maybe I don't. And like, I don't mean to sound elitist or anything, but it's like, I grew up in this super crunchy organic household in Vermont. My mom made like bread from scratch and, you know, so like, but for me to sell to other types of people, like I have to step outside of my own reality and kind of start studying those behaviors. And so this is a really good example of like, she found, you know, there's a huge demand for this. And I don't know, I just think it's interesting because sometimes as founders, we get like so caught up in kind of our own experience and the problem that we're solving for ourselves that at some point we have to get into that place of like the problem we're solving for 90% of the world and they might be different than us. And like at some point, our consumer might become someone that's not at all like us. And to make sure our blinders aren't on too much that we miss that opportunity.
That you know, you're right on target. I mean, that's basically what Simon Sinek is talking about: finite versus infinite. You know, if you're very focused in your reality, then you're thinking in a finite way. You've got all the boundaries, you've got the pros and cons that you understand well in your space. But an infinite approach would be, you know, we want to provide, you know, an indulgent treat to people who are sick of trying to be healthy. I don't know, you know, that's how it strikes me. But the point is, you know, you look at the sales of things like fast foods or, you know, just tons of bad stuff is incredibly successful. And so you have to understand that, right? And maybe you just reject all that, and that's fine too. But from a business perspective, you know, when I talk about product market fit, it's finding those markets, and it's not a solo market. It's not just your worldview. I can assure you of that. That much I do know. So, you know, the idea of figuring out how to talk to those markets and how to talk to those audiences, this is where this kind of, you know, we're going to have a section on newsjacking, which some of you may be familiar with. But newsjacking is the concept of leveraging news that's out there with your product or service and combining them so that you benefit from the attention. So if you look at what they did, the whole idea came from the presidential peanut butter that they did, the people that were running for office, right? So they made a Bernie version and a Joe Biden and all this kind of stuff. That got picked up by news organizations that are always looking for relevant content. And in that case, the presidential race was big in the news. So they leveraged that. And that's not the first time that's happened. Airbnb, when they started, I believe they started in 2007 or 2008, I think maybe 2007. So when they first started, they put air mattresses on the floor of their apartment in San Francisco and rented those air mattresses out to people who are coming to a design conference because all the hotels were booked. And then so they rented 4 of their air mattresses and said, hey, we got something here. But they had no money. In fact, 2 of the 4 that started Airbnb actually had to leave San Francisco and go home because they were so broke. They had no money. So then they decided, and you're not going to believe this, but they made cereal boxes. Being designers, they created cereal, one for Obama and the other, I can't remember, I guess it was McCain at the time. And they created, they sold cereal. They just bought the cereal from the grocery store and poured it into these boxes that they made. And they made $30,000 in 1 month selling presidential cereal, right? It had nothing to do with Airbnb, but that's an example, of newsjacking or connecting with a bigger thing going on to get yourself, in the discussion and as part of it. And these people did, these peanut butter things, and that led them to where they are today because they saw that people really responded not only to the presidential side, but also the flavors they created. The flavors were basically adding a bunch of junk into peanut butter. It's not rocket science, right? They not only, they went to the grocery store and bought stuff. Think about that. It's insane. But the point is they found their product market fit and they kept iterating until they figured it out. And I don't know, I've spent a lot of time looking at these people. I don't think they know what they're doing in some respects because they have so many SKUs that it's crazy. And I would bet that a large number of those SKUs, the sales are hardly any at all. I would bet. So I think they need some professional help, I think, in managing their offering. They literally have hundreds of SKUs, which think about that as somebody doing it by hand, how insane that is. But also they have this Sunday night drop that they do, this 7:00 at Sunday night Eastern time. That's all what they call their indulgence line. So the indulgence line is all the stuff you saw in that video, all this candy and all this, colorful stuff. That's separate from their regular line, which is a little more, I guess, less crazy, if you will. Maybe just, peanut butter and jelly mixed together. I don't know. But again, I would predict, if I had to guess, that the vast majority of their sales are from the indulgence line. It's probably not from the standard kind of product. I don't know, but that's my guess. At any rate, the bottom line is at this point, they are so overwhelmed that they have created this idea of scarcity by closing their website all week long, and everybody waits for this drop. And if you go to their Facebook page or Instagram or whatever, you'll see all these people going, damn, I missed the drop. I'll have to wait till next week. It really, I really wanted to get so-and-so. So there's a lot of good stuff here, but there's also, it's not perfect by any stretch. But I do think it's all something that you guys can benefit from. So, all right, Lisa, did you want to say something?
I did. It's just unbelievable to me. Looking at the product, it looks so gross to me, but people like that stuff. Like my product, we make it all from hand, by hand and everything, and package it and everything. But ours is all natural, and like if I put cookies in it, it's cookies that I've made myself. Like I make our own homemade lady fingers and make our own syrups and everything, caramel sauce. So it's a lot of work, and there's a person here who has an ice cream shop in a town near me, and he does really well. And he gets factory ice cream, but he makes like the freak shakes, with all the candy and the cookies and sprinkles and all that junk in it. And people pay $14 for a freak shake. And people like that stuff. But I just couldn't put that crap in my stuff. So if I have to look at things from other people's perspective, like Sarah was saying, other consumers' perspective instead of mine. But still our product is always going to stay all natural and,
Well, I think that's fine. I think, all of the attributes that you consider, important to you, are important, but the real question is, what is the market asking for, and how does your product, reach that market, and is it responsive to the market? It may be or it may not be. It's kind of I don't know the answer. I wouldn't. I'm diabetic. I couldn't eat that stuff if you put a gun to my head. So maybe there's a category
well,
for
everybody
sure.
who eats it loves it and says it's the best ice cream they've ever had before in their lives. But because it's the best doesn't mean anything if it's not the best known. So that's
right.
the thing.
Yep, that's right.
And every
Well,
time I go to events with international buyers or anyone, they love it and they want to buy it, But I couldn't make 12 pallets of gelato for different international buyers, right now in my little shop.
Right.
Uh-huh.
I understand. Amanda, do you have something?
I just wanted to add to what Lisa was saying, if you don't mind, because
Go ahead, Sarah.
I think too, like, it's hard sometimes to get to the true data because what I'm learning is consumers are aspirational by nature in the way that they answer questions. So like, if you even doing like one-on-one feedback in stores, doing sampling and demos, people tell you, or people will tell me something like, yeah, no, I stay away from sugar, or, oh, it has to be organic. And then if you do surveys or whatnot online, same thing. But if you really look at the actual behavior, the actual behavior doesn't match what people say. And it's not that they're intentionally lying.
This afternoon, I need to stop by their office.
They're saying what, like, the way they wish they were.
Yeah, no, I think aspirational is a good way to look at it. And, Amanda, did you want to say something? I saw your microphone was off.
No, sir.
Okay, just making sure.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I wanted to jump in too and just share some feedback. I know one thing, Sarah, that I've done to kind of help me to get outside of my own head and, what my preferences and things are. I heard this from the Budgetnista. I don't know if anyone follows her. Her name is Tiffany Aliche. But she's pretty well known. And she was saying that one of the things that worked for her, because she has like a finance business and she teaches about how to better your finances and things. She started to look at other categories that weren't necessarily a direct competition with her to see how they were marketing their businesses. And it made her think outside of the box. And she actually applied, I think, some method that I think it was like, what was it? I don't know, yoga business or some type of physical health business, some method that they were doing. And she liked it. So she was like, you know what? I don't see any other guys doing it in my category. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. And it ended up being the very thing that set her apart from everyone else in her category. So sometimes it's hard for me to come up with like methods that are outlandish and outside of the box, outside of my preferences. So just if you need any inspiration or, something to kind of get you kickstarted, that might be a good thing to do. And then I was also going to say, Dennis, it's so funny because the peanut butter company, you were saying they have like 4 major stakeholders in that industry. And it's fairly the same with the infant formula industry. And so I've been trying to figure out, how can I differentiate myself outside of the healthy things, right? Outside of the fact that we're ready-made, it's going to come in a subscription format, which is also different. We're leading up to a dissolvable infant formula tablet. All of those things are great, but I still feel like I haven't quite grasped the consumer. You know what I mean? I haven't really nailed it down, and I can't make it too fun. I mean, I guess I could. I just haven't figured out the right formula, but formula seems so serious. You know what I mean? It seems so serious.
Yeah, I think, let me just show you something here in response to what you're saying. Let's see here. Let me share my screen here real quick. What these folks are doing, just a couple of things that are relevant. So one, the message on their homepage is exactly what they're trying to communicate, right? Handmade, small batch peanut butter treat. That's what you see. It doesn't get into a bunch of technical stuff. Boom, that's really good. But what I wanted to show you that really caught my eye was it's almost got like a Beatrix Potter feel to it, right? It's kind of this, the colors. It looks like it's aimed at young kids, to me. Let's see if this, I don't know. Okay, so if you look at this package, for example, this is something called lemon cream. Let's see, they don't really give you, let me see if I can, okay, well, this is maybe a little bit better, but look at the imagery on the label, right? The woman that was talking in the video happens to be a graphic artist, just happens, that's the wife of the founder, the two founders. She's one of the founders with a guy, but she really is, I mean, she's an artist. So this look of this brand is very playful. It's very fun. It's, it just reminds me of, I don't know why, Beatrix Potter. Oh, let's look at the nutrition just for the fun of it. So in this case, this one's 150 calories, 13 grams of carbs. Yeah, they got all kinds of bad stuff in here, palm oil, you name it. So
Yeah, but
anyway,
the serving size is
my
only
point,
2 tablespoons.
2
with all that in it.
tablespoons.
Yeah.
Who eats
awesome,
that?
isn't it? Yeah, I love that. Yeah, stay nutty, spread smiles. We focus on family fun and flavor. We're working with the FDA to allow us to put love as an ingredient on the label. So anyway, their whole message is fun, health nut peanut butter. Let's see how healthy this stuff is. Let's see if we can see the label. Well, only 1 gram of sugar, supposedly, 5 grams of carbs. So this is their regular peanut butter. Let's see how much they sell it for if it's on here. $10.99 for, I don't know what size that is. Oh, 16 ounce. So that's probably double the cost of a Skippy or whatever, I think roughly. But they've got it. So they do have regular basic peanut butter. But I think the branding, the graphics, the messaging, the whole thing's very congruent with what they're trying to do. And so I just wanted to point that out to everybody that, I think that's part of the game is the appearance of the website and the message of the brand. And in their case, other than this little store they have in Rapid City, they really are an online only business. And the reading about them is they could not believe how much money the grocery stores and the distributors took. So they purposely decided to not do that. And so their margins, I think, are between 60 and 70%, which is pretty crazy for something like this.
Except they have to ship climate control, which is really expensive.
Yeah, I don't know if it's, I don't know
Yeah,
if
it's
they're
peanut butter. I don't
shelf-stable.
know if it is because.
Yeah, I think it's shelf-stable. I'm not sure.
Does it
But
say it's
at any rate,
refrigerated or shelf stable?
I don't think they're
Plus she
refrigerated.
said, she says on the website it's climate controlled, but maybe I misunderstood.
No, you could be right. I have not delved into that, but
That's an issue
I'll try
for
to
me,
find the
shipping.
report I read, which is, and this is the other interesting thing, is they have been incredibly open about all their metrics. Like they have all their spreadsheets they've done and analysis, and I'll find that and post it on the Facebook page. How they analyze the market, how they analyze their margins, the manufacturing, all that kind of stuff. And somebody asked them, he said, why are you telling everybody all this stuff? And they said that we want to help people succeed. We think that businesses need help like this. And we warn everybody, if you want to copy us, this is a very hard business to copy. So, I just think they're radically transparent. They, share a lot of information about their experiences. But as somebody who teaches this, it's very helpful to me to share with you guys, right? So you can get a sense. But I'll find that case study that that I read a week or so ago that I just couldn't believe the details. And but it really lends itself to this whole discussion of category design, category leadership, thinking about it, and I really like what Sarah brought up and others, this idea of really, opening yourself up beyond your own worldview and your own set of experiences. It's hard to do. It's not easy, but it can be done. And I have great faith that you all can figure it out.
Dennis, I had two more things. Did you post this company? Is this the one that you had posted in the group about the peanut butter company?
Probably.
Okay, I'm just gonna go back and check. And then the last thing I wanted to say really quickly was, I know a lot of us who have like the more healthy business brands and things, it's kind of wrapped up in that is like our passion and our integrity, right? And we want to stay true to that. And it's so funny because me and my husband, we saw this collage that was floating around the internet a couple of days ago, and it was like all these different logos and brands that you see when you go into the grocery store. And they were all, whether they were the good for you stuff or the not so good for you stuff, somehow connected back to these big major brands. So one thing that the big brands and the big guys are doing is that they are paying attention to the behavior of the consumers, and they are giving them exactly what they want just through different products. So they're putting out, sodas and, all of the yucky stuff for the ones who don't care about the healthiness. And then they're turning right back around and they're putting out a competitive product, but for a different target market. So like they have the healthy and the unhealthy stuff. And sometimes you do find that even the healthy stuff has unhealthy stuff in it. But I'm just kind of giving you guys some insight as to like, maybe ways that we could do something similar if that's what you want to do. If it's not, then that's fine too, because I don't even know that it's something that I would do, but they're just trying to capture both sides of the deal. And it was just so hilarious to see how, wow, these guys are the ones behind all of this.
Yeah. Well, I think also when you're looking at channels, right? So you look at the grocery channel, that has its own kind of attributes and realities and so forth, which is very different than direct to consumer on the website. So I think, most of those big brands are super invested on the retail shelves, right? Walmart, et cetera. So their worldview, it might not relate to yours. And in this people's case, to me, the story here isn't so much about healthy versus unhealthy, all that kind of stuff. To me, it's about finding your niche, finding your market, and building a product or creating a product or series of products that is responsive to your market. And whether it's, maybe the unhealthy market is 10 times bigger than the healthy market. I don't know. Sometimes I feel that way, but whatever it is, I think they've done a good job of putting together their package, their branding story, their graphics, and it's, they're when they started doing this, they decided they wanted to have fun. That was one of their primary motivations, and a little unusual. Most business people don't think, how am I going? I don't think I would start a business to have fun personally, but they did, and it kind of permeates through all the stuff that they're doing. So I thought you all would like it. And I like the fact that it's not venture capital funded. It's at their kitchen table. All the things that many of you struggle with or have in the past. That's what caught my eye. So, all right.
I have a question if we have time.
We do.
Okay. So in the beginning, the videos that you showed, I really liked the word cloud that they created, but I just wanted to make sure that I got it right. I think he was talking about how if you're building a new category, he mentioned provisional trademark for the category. That's my first question. So, and just a little context, like when I first started building Cirilla, it was the only sparkling tea that I knew. I knew probably other people were doing it, but there was nothing in the market. And now there's a few brands. And Liquid Death is coming in this year with a sparkling tea, and they're killing it, right? So it's like now most likely Liquid Death is going to end up being the category captain, and sparkling tea, when I first got started, the category didn't even exist. So it's like I'm kind of looking at that in terms of like, what is my opportunity? Like I feel a lot of pressure. I'm almost like, oh my gosh, like this huge brand is coming in, like we're not funded like they are. We don't have the same resources, and like, but also this is an opportunity because they're going to help build the
Right.
awareness around the category. So I guess related to that first video, I'm wondering if you have any, like, if I got that right, if I understood what he was saying, and then if you have any insight, maybe that's too much to get into with just a couple minutes, but.
No, it's okay. You know, he's basically saying, and you know, that these folks are primarily working with venture capital funded companies. So, you know, one of the things he said, you know, get the provisional and put it in the drawer and forget about it. So, you know, I guess the point is, you know, making a claim in a category or a product is very difficult to defend at scale. And he's basically saying, don't bother. So, you know, maybe Liquid Death is going to have some weaknesses in their product that you can capitalize on, and you can point out how you're better, different, cheaper, but more expensive, whatever the value prop is. So I think what he's basically saying is, forget legal protections. You can't afford it. It's not really going to work anyway, unless you're really willing to defend. You know, every time somebody comes out with something, your lawyer's got to send them a letter, right? Or, you know, it's just a real nightmare. I've been involved a little bit in that kind of thing. And so I'll just tell you a quick story. I purchased a worldwide exclusive license for the from the USDA for a mosquito repellent that I was developing that came from pine trees out of China originally. And so the USDA this was their product. They granted the patent or whatever, the rights to it. After about a year with that, a gigantic company, you may not have heard of it, it's called International Flavors and Fragrance. They're the people that made the seasoning for McDonald's French fries, for example. That they're a flavor company and a fragrance company. They're also the leading company for making perfumes. All the major brands use these guys. Well, they decided that they were going to start using this ingredient, and they basically wrote me a letter, said, you know, F you, we're going to use it. So I sent the letter to the USDA and said, look, these guys are going to take our product that we have licensed from you, and they're going to start adding it to their products. And this is outrageous. The USDA told me, we're really sorry, but we don't have the budget to fight a company like this. We're very sorry. So, I mean, I had a worldwide license from the United States government at a major law firm, and everyone told me, forget it. You're not going to win. You know, it's just impossible if the player is that big. So that was my experience with semi kind of thing. Like, unless you really have money to devote to that, it's kind of a lost cause in most cases. You let the marketplace dictate the winners and losers, not the legal process. I hope that's helpful, Sarah.
Yeah. Thank you. I wasn't sure. Was he saying that some companies, if they have enough resources, get a provisional trademark on the actual category name?
Yeah, that's
the part I wanted more info on.
Okay.
Too.
Yeah. So you can trademark or patent almost anything. And so, you know, the category could easily be protected. There are different kinds of trademarks, different kinds of service marks, registered marks. It's a whole world. But again, unless you're prepared to defend it, I think it's a waste of money. That's really my point. You know, you can go through all that and probably spend $50,000 to $100,000 getting that, but then you got to start fighting every time somebody impinges on it. And it's just unless you got a lot of money, it's really a waste of time in my experience. All right. Well, thank you all for the questions and for the engagement. And we'll do part 2 tomorrow. And if I find anyone like Nerdy Nuts in the meantime, I'll have that ready as well.